upgrading from a made in Mexico Strat to a made in the USA Strat or Telecaster, I don't think it's necessarily an upgrade as so much as a collector grade change, right? Like I said, the premium is on the fact that it's made in the USA. And that's it. I'm very upfront about this. I own Gibsons and I own Fenders because I'm at a point in my life where I can just afford Gibsons and Fenders. I love them. They're great, but I don't specifically pick them because I go, oh, this made in USA standard Strat is better than the made in Mexico Strat. It's just not that way to me. Some people have hard opinions about it. Generally, I don't have a lot of hard opinions about it. I just kind of like, this is, again, I just know long-term wise, made in USA stuff will always go up in value. And you have to understand why it goes up in value. That's probably where a lot of people are confused, because think about this. To say something that's made in the USA is going to hold value is not an accurate statement. That is not the statement. In fact, don't confuse, American pride, which I have as an American, with American guitar values and where the perception of value comes from. So here's what I mean by that. I like the idea that like companies like Kiesel and companies like, Sir and Tom Harrison, they build guitars in the USA and, because again, it's people in my country working and doing something that I love, which is guitars. That's great. But just because they're made in the USA doesn't make me think they're superior in any way or that they're more collectible or they go up in value. The thing that makes guitars go up in value like that made in USA, like Fenders and Gibsons, is the same reason. And I'm probably going to have some poor analogies because obviously this is live and I don't have a preloaded speech but I want to communicate what I'm trying to think here. And I'm going to use some generic things until I probably hit something that makes sense. So, like when you go to a country, like you go to Germany and you have a German beer and it's amazing, right? It's not about like saying, oh, Germany has the best beer. It's about saying there's something cool about drinking a beer from Germany because they are known for having great beer, right? So, and I'm gonna use food because it just makes sense. So, like think about food and then you think about the origin of the country that it comes from. And when people go, like, I have a friend who said this once, and it's not something he thought of, just said it to me and it made me laugh once. He was talking about seafood, and he said, hey, the further you get away from the shore, the worse the seafood is. So like when you're on the West Coast, the East Coast of the United States, whatever I'm on the coasts, I tend to eat a lot of seafood. Not so much in Arizona, right? Like, and probably less so in Utah, right? Like just again, further you get from the ocean, the food tastes, the seafood doesn't taste as good. So somebody said Belgium, like Belgium chocolate, right? So think about this. So you have an item and then you have that it originated from a place and then it's known, that place is known for doing great quality. Does that mean that I can't get good chocolate somewhere else? No. Does it mean I can't get a good beer somewhere else? No. Does what it means is that there is a premium that mentally we attach to the originator of the thing or the thing that made it famous or the place that's known for making the thing really well. Fender made in USA, Fender made in Mexico, Fender made in Indonesia, Fender made in Japan, Fender made in China. None of that deep down matters to me in the concept of the quality, right? Because Fender just dictates the quality. They set the standard and they accept the standard and then we accept the standard from them by purchasing it. But when we say an American Fender has value or a USA made Fender has value, the value proposition is there's a romance to the fact that that's where it started. It's not even like think about this. If Fender's not only made in the USA, they're made in California where they started. If Fender moved to Minnesota and started making Fenders in Minnesota, people would go, oh, they're not like, think of this. It wouldn't even matter. I guarantee it tomorrow. If Fender said, hey, screw this. Let's make it easier because it's easier for the economics. If Fender said tomorrow, like, we're done paying 13% tax, or whatever tax in California, we're moving to Florida. We're going to move our facility to Florida and start making guitars in Florida. I guarantee you they move this same equipment over there. They train the people. People will be like, man, the made in California Strats, that's the good ones, not the Florida ones, right? Or not the Minnesota ones or whatever, right? There's just something about, think about this. We put a premium on heritage because they're like, oh, they're made in the same factory as Gibson used to make them out of with the same employees. I'm like, well, they're not all the same employees really anymore. And they're definitely not using all the same equipment anymore. That doesn't mean they're great guitar. They're not great guitars. They are, but you understand, like, that's what it is. There's this romance that we attach to this. And I didn't know how to qualify that for years, but luckily, interacting with you guys for so long, doing so much content, having to think about it in that way, you start thinking like, yeah, why do we think the way we do? And then you start realizing like, yeah, it's not about like when somebody says, oh, USA guitars are always gonna be worth something. It's like, well, it's not so much they're always gonna be worth something. They just have a value because of the fact that that's where it started or that's where it originated. And I like the word romance. There's a romance to it. There's something cool about owning a USA Strat. There's something cool about owning a USA Gibson. And I don't really attach the fact that it's like, oh, they make them the best. That was a time. That was true. But now the machines are everywhere. The CNC machines, the skill is everywhere. And let's be very clear, whether you believe it or not, which is up to you to decide. Okay. The US manufacturers have all stated, I can find right now, anybody who wants to do a little bit of investigative reporting, I can show you where Paul Reed Smith guitars, where Gibson guitars, and Fender guitars have all publicly stated that they have went to the factories overseas and they have trained those employees and they have taught them to make the guitars. So they're using like machines with similarly trained employees, right? And essentially, a lot of the materials are the same. So the guitars are the same for the most part. Again, it's a broad stroke. And as you guys know, I hate these broad strokes, but it is a podcast and I don't have time to deep dive into some silliness. But my point is, that's where I think that comes from. And the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people ask that question a lot. Hey, I have a made Mexico Strat and I'm thinking about getting an American one. And is it a big upgrade? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there are features that are higher on the USA one because Fender sets the features to be that way, but I don't really advocate that that's why you should buy it. I think you buy it because, again, there's a romance to owning, and here's a proof in this. For those Ibanez fans in the audience can tell you this. The thing that people react to Gibson Fender about being made in USA, that's how Ibanez fans react about being made in Japan. Like, I like owning a made in Japan Ibanez over made in Korea and Indonesia because of the same reason. It's like, that's where they started. That's where they were made. That's where I know them from. And those were the best and then somebody goes, they are the best. And I'm like, well, again, all that is a great argument. I love to have it with you every day, but I'm not convinced. It's not that I'm not convinced that they're better. I'm not convinced that's why people think and pay more for them. That's my point. Is that I'm saying I don't want to argue whether or not something's better. I'm just saying people will pay more for them, but I don't think it's actually on a tangible quality scale. It's on a romance scale. Okay, so that's your answer. If you want to own an original made in USA Fender, you should do it. And if not, you have a great guitar with your made in Mexico Strat. So if you like this clip and you'd like to watch another one, you can click right here. And if you want to see the entire episode of the podcast, you can click right there. As always, thank you for your time and know your gear.